Hey all, Grollo here. Welcome to this recap of week 5 of 2025. This is where a system architect and gamer, that's me, picks a few topics from last week to chat about, and I appreciate you tuning in for it. A lot happened last week, and here's what we're going to talk about today. Does Star Citizen need saved? The streamer Terada thinks so. CIG made a Spectrum post addressing the current issues in 4.0.1. And they canceled the Free Fly event. And lastly, Ashes of Creation posted their January developer update, which is their first of the year. So I thought that was cool. So first, let's dive into Does Star Citizen need saved? So Terada made this post on Thursday titled Save Star Citizen. You can see it here. He lays out a bunch of genuine and legitimate concerns about finally getting 4.0 after years of delays and then it launching in a disastrous state. And then 4.0.1 went live, and somehow it was even worse than the previous version. Now, that doesn't match my experiences. So far, 4.0.1 has been an improvement for me, but Terada plays a lot more than I do, and I 100% believe him that it's gotten worse for him. He then calls out the release date, saying about releasing it on Christmas Eve and then going on holiday. And look, I agree. Like, what a terrible idea. I don't even release code on Fridays, if there's any doubt at all, right? But to CIG's credit, they left 3.24 online. So really, there was no harm in releasing a 4.0 preview. I said this at the time, and I stand by it. People could have just ignored it, and it would have been like nothing changed, right? There would have been no difference. But very few people did. And so you got to ask, like, was it really that bad? I know I didn't touch 3.24 after 4.0 went live. There was a lot of new stuff to see. We're playing an alpha game, and sometimes it's just about seeing what's new. He then goes on about, they could have sacrificed things to get it out the door sooner, or, just pushing it back. And I honestly don't think there's any validity to either of those. And again, the preview launch was a good approach at getting a lot of data and feedback, because a lot of people had time off of work and more time for gaming, which means more time for generating data for CIG. And like I said, they had the old patch as a fallback. Delaying it would have just lost all that data. And by doing it this way, like, whenever they did finally return to the office, like, all that data was there waiting for them. And putting it out sooner, well, it would have just been worse than it already was, right? Next, he nails them on marketing. I don't know about this section. There's a claim in here about, that the content creators are the marketing department. I disagree with this, but I think it gets to the root of an important thing to keep in mind. These criticisms and critiques, they're coming from someone that streams Star Citizen. They are heavily invested in this game. It sounds like he makes money from playing the game. And that doesn't discount his opinions. His criticisms on the state of the game are valid. But he next goes into, like, this long list of issues with the game, and they're all spot on if you read through them. I'm not going to read them because we got another. It would be duplicative of what we're going to talk about in a moment, but just be sure not to allow this, like, his grievances, to, like, be transferred to you. Because for me, 4.0.1 is better. It's a step in the right direction, and I know that to be true for a lot of other people too. It's still broken in a lot of ways, but it's better than 4.0. And it sounds like for him, things have gotten worse, and I believe it, but there's some streamer bias going on here, I imagine. And his experiences are likely an outlier. So again, that's not to say the state of the game is good. It's not good. But it is what it is. And so the day after Terada's post, as I'm sure everyone knows by now, CIG made a post on Spectrum Coincidence? Who knows? But whoops. They acknowledge a bunch of the issues that Star Citizen is having right now. We're going to glance at it here. I'm not going to read it, as I'm sure a dozen other people have already read this to you by now. But let's look at the highlights. One, they reinforce the messaging from the letter of the chairman, right up at the top. That playability is the current top priority. And they go on to say that that means dedicating all of our resources to improving stability, and addressing critical issues and delivering meaningful quality of life updates. Now, first, I think it's good that they're presenting kind of a unified front on the chairman's letter. Second, I wish they wouldn't have worded it this way, because someone is going to take this out of context. I see it in my comments. You said all resources would be working on playability. Why are we getting a new ship? Right? Come on. People are already thinking it. Again, I refer you back to my video on why games are taking so long and the part about the Mythical Man Month. All hands on deck has limits. Now, for the news that really surprised folks. With that in mind, we have made the decision to forego the Red Festival free fly. They're canceling a marketing event to show us they mean business. Now, I've been around long enough to know that every free fly event sucks for the servers. Everyone moans and complains during free fly events. Hell, I just don't log in while they're going on. Seriously, I just take a break. It's awful in my experience. So every year they've had a reason to do this, and I can't remember any free flies that took place when the game was in an amazing place. Can you? Like, can you ever think back to a free fly event and be like, man, the servers were running great during that free fly event, or even leading to the free fly event, right? Dude, come on, this is Star Citizen. The servers are always on fire or like one step away from being on fire. I just cannot imagine any free fly event. I mean, at least since I've been here. In my time, like I've been here since, 3.17, around that time. And I've never witnessed the servers in a state that was like, yeah, it's time for a free fly event. So what's different now? They're signaling that, yes, we're taking our statement seriously. That's part of it. But remember, there's also a lot of leadership change recently. A lot of people in a lot of different positions that weren't there in the past. So before you go off ranting about how this is just more of the same, one, there's new people in positions of note. And two, obviously this is not more of the same. This is a statement, one that hasn't been made before, as far as I know. So they go on to call out, and acknowledge very specific issues that a lot of folks are struggling with while trying to play the game. This is good. Anyone who's ever given or received feedback knows that like listening, acknowledging, rephrasing, these are all important things. So here's them doing that, right? One, elevators still, no surprise. Characters stowing and repair, this stuff sucks. I mean, it just completely ruins and shuts the game down for people. Hangar woes. I haven't ran into the hangar stuff myself, but I hear people talking about that quite a bit. Load times. I mean, this is pretty low on my list, but sure, faster is always better. Mission issues. I mean, missions have been borked since the beginning, since 4.0 was released. So it'll be good to get those back. Quantum travel. That's interesting to me because it involves like state not being synced properly across the mesh. I'd love whenever they find out what's going on with that, like what they find out. It's annoying for sure too, but I think that'll be an interesting technical epiphany, maybe, when they find that out. LTP, and a host of other things. This renewed emphasis on playability with leadership changes and all of that on the tail of the 1.0 vision that they laid out at the end of 2024, and with Squadron 42 slated for next year, it's all very promising because it's consistent and it's clear. It all connects in a way that we haven't seen communications and actions connected before from CIG, at least in my time here. But we have no choice but to wait for the proof. Let's see where things are in a month, or where things are in 2 months. Now they end this down here by mentioning that they're going to be doing a 2-hour Star Citizen Live with the CTO Benoit on Thursday this week. Sounds like this is going to be pretty technical discussion on the deeper side. Guess where I'll be minutes after it releases. We will definitely look at this together. I can't wait. So we're going to continue this whole topic and conversation then. So let's put a pin in it for now. All right. That brings us to the end of the Star Citizen updates for this week. But I did want to give a little bit of attention to the Ashes of Creation January developer update. I'm glad to see the first big update of the year in Ashes. We noticed some much needed improvements in the guild management interfaces. You can have officers now. I can't wait for that in Star Citizen, by the way, like the new guild organization interface changes. And it looks like they've extended the desert further. Let's roll a few short clips on this. Here we go.
We have been busy bees. For those of you who have been keeping up with the PTR and obviously our update that went live yesterday, you probably have seen that we have quite a big, hefty update notes that just went out. Yes. So this is our big update. Like we said before, we'll have smaller ones and then we'll have big ones every like 6-ish weeks. So stay tuned for those ones. But obviously this one's a big one. Our next big one will probably be rogue oriented. So stay tuned for that.
See the schedule for phase 2 in 2025 getting started, like big updates every 6 weeks. Sounds promising. We'll see. And coming soon is the rogue.
How stealth is going to work. I know we've talked about it a bit already.
I will say that the rogue is currently out of design's hands and into the VFX pipeline and the sound effects pipeline. Animation and design work has been relatively completed. There might be some additional tuning, obviously, but we are targeting some initial testing on our PTR environment in early February. So it is coming up. I know that there are a lot of people excited. There is definitely a sophisticated stealth mechanic that has been authored and designed by Dr. Bucky, our resident doctor of animal husbandry, all things Bard, and now all things Rogue. I think people are going to be very excited and have a lot of fun testing out this new archetype. It rounds out the party comp, I think, pretty well.
Sounds cool. A lot of folks are excited about the Rogue. I'll stick to my Bard. And I hope it's not permanent stealth like in some other games. And finally, everyone's favorite topic, the desert.
How much more progress does the desert need before you move on to the tropics area?
Well, that's a good question. So if you look at the map that I'm looking at and the map that we've released, there's generally kind of this playable space out here that needs to be completed.
There it is.
And we're probably going to have that done relatively soon.
How much more progress does the...
Thank the heavens. The desert will be expanded soon. Finally, we'll be able to play the game. Anyway, I'll drop a link to the full video for the entire update in case you're interested in hearing more on the first update from the Ashes team in 2025, the first dev update. It was a good one. It was a good first update. And while this didn't make the topic list for last week, I did want to call out that PAX Day had some patches and hot fixes land, bringing in the beginnings of Grace and the blessing system, which sounds pretty cool. If you're looking for a place to get the most out of Star Citizen, Ashes of Creation, PAX Day, head over to unhinged.gg. Love to see you on the Discord server. That's all the topics for this Monday. And one last thing before I sign off, I'll always keep this channel on the lighter side in general, but speaking of last week, there were 2 terrible aerial disasters, IRL. I don't really know what to say or do, but I at least felt the need to recognize that it happened, and, those families have been in my prayers. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, that's all I got for today. If I don't catch you before for some reason, I will definitely catch you on Thursday for the Inside Star Citizen. I'm looking forward to that. Big time. It's going to be interesting. With that, take care all. Rolo out.